and I am originally from Bronx, New York. That's where I was born. And we moved to Lancaster probably in the 80s. And I've been here a little over 30 years. It was a very interesting move. I came from a very diverse city with a lot of diversity in reference to food and places to go and things to do. So we come to Sleepy Town, Lancaster, um, very racist, and it was an experience that I would never wish anyone to go through. I went to Puerto Rico after 2 years in Lancaster because I felt that I was out of place. Being the first Latina in the classroom, being called wetback, um, feeling isolated, I just felt that I could not endure any more of the racism here in Lancaster. So um, it took it took probably, I would say, maybe 3 years before my mom could say that she had a home, or that she had an employment. So when we moved here, she wasn't even able to get a place to live, even though she had money. They would not rent us a place, so we became homeless. Um, there were times where, yeah, where we endured, hunger. We were hungry. So trying not to be part of the system because she believed in working. That's what she was, what she learned. And coming to Lancaster, not being employed because her last name was Cruz, it was very hard. It was hard for us. So when she started working, I had moved to Puerto Rico for 2 years, for 3 years actually, and lived in a farm with my uncle, who was his responsibility was the sugarcane field. So he managed the sugarcane field, and I learned how important agriculture is. That's one of the reasons I'm running as well, because climate keeps changing and it's affecting the growth of our farming, not only in Pennsylvania, but all across the world. So I had the opportunity. My uncle, even though I was a young of age, I was still learning. He would taught me, about how to plant the seeds, when to plant them. And then after receiving, or after enduring Hurricane Hugo, then I learned how hard it is to survive without having electric, water, um, how to, catch your chickens that are floating and throw them in the shed. So that was an experience. So knowing what has happened in so many different places that are going through hurricanes, flooding, how you wind up getting, these infections and whether it's a dengue or some type of flu because of, the overflow and everything that's combined together in our environment, it really affects us in so many ways. Like health, health is so important for us to be healthy in order for us to function. So after Hugo and even having my own cow and learning how to raise a calf was weird. You come from New York City to raise a cow. It was great. I loved it. I just love animals. So of course I'm an advocate for the Humane Society. I go lobby day every year for our animals, because I believe that animal cruelty is not needed. So after coming back from Puerto Rico, when my mom started working at $3.35 an hour, she needed someone as a single mom, someone to help her with the kids. I was the eldest. So we came back. It was a little more diverse in the schools. I helped her out. I, made the lunches, walked the kids to the school, went to school myself. And it was very hard. She finally said that, the fact that she wasn't making too much, she had to get also, welfare assistance in order to move forward. And even though I've learned all my life that in order to get somewhere, you got to work very hard. So that was always instilled with me, especially my father, who does live in Puerto Rico. He taught us that You know, sometimes you have to grow your own crop in order to eat. And that's why, like I said, I'm very passionate about agriculture, because it really teaches you that if you are able to grow, you'll be able to feed yourself. You can sustain yourself. Um, so I went to, I graduated from JP McCaskey, so I'm a product of a public school system. I decided to go to school at Thompson Institute for a couple of years. Unfortunately, I didn't graduate because of funding. Um, I just could not afford going to college, and I basically went into the cable industry after 2 years of school, and that's where I became a member of the IBEW union. And I support the union because it gave me a chance to go into a company that I had no knowledge of fiber optics, cable, nothing at all, but I was trained, and that is a way to help those that may not have the funding to go to college, or maybe they just don't have that particular knack, because not everybody is for college. Some people use their hands to build things. So in that instance, I went into like customer service, and before you know it, I was working in the technical department, making a good wage. I, took my mom almost 27 years to make $17.50 an hour. It took me 3 years to make $17, $18 an hour. I had great benefits. I don't even remember if I paid anything other than my copay. And that's why I support the unions, because I know that they will advocate, they will fight for those wages, they will negotiate. If they have to pick it, they need to pick it. And getting into a little bit into, shifting gear from the company that sold to what they call, I guess, Comcast. I saw that things were changing and it wasn't any more fun for me. So I winded up in the healthcare system. I went into the health insurance, health guard for 3 years. So I learned, what it is to tell somebody that they can't have funding or resources for their child because they have stage 3 of cancer. And I had to tell them their claim was denied. Not a very good way of telling a mother or a father that their children cannot get the services that they need. At that time, my nephew had cancer as well, and he's in Massachusetts, and he was able to get 2 years of treatment. So we had that time with him, that quality time before he passed away. This is why I'm running for healthcare, because there's so many opportunities to take care of our community before they even get to the stage of cancer or some type of chronic disease. From healthcare, I also went into working with a physician's office, a practice of 5 physicians. I was a billing manager. And there again, the insurance wasn't the greatest. So I moved into cardiac at the hospital. I've been in the hospital about 10 or 11 years. And I'm a medical analyst where I analyze charge for the Joint Commission, Medicare, Medicaid. That's how they get awards. I do the benchmarking, metrics, and anything related to the stroke cases. That's my responsibility. In reference to politics, well, I started in the Latino caucus in Lancaster, and from there, I started going and visiting state committee. And then once I started learning about state committee, and that's when the Latino caucus said, well, why don't you run? And I said, run for what? And they say, run for city council. And I'm like, well, why would I do that? And obviously they're like, well, I think you're a right fit. We've never had a Latina in Lancaster that has ever won. I think you would do great. Your community is about 38% in the city of Lancaster, Latinos and people of color. So I took the venture, ran, unendorsed, oh well. Worked very hard. I think I knocked on every door I could find and crawled every rock that there was someone living in. And I took an oath, and When I take an oath, I'm very serious. I obviously am a Democrat, but when I took that oath and someone comes to me, I don't ask whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or independent. If you need assistance, I am here because that is my responsibility. And that's something that I really do takes, I do take the role serious. So if someone's calling me because, there's a parked car that's been sitting there for too long and nobody has moved it, well, I'm going to make sure it's moved. And if I have to blow the whistle, well, I have, like someone trying to shut water off of 300,000 people, well, so I contact the news and say, hey, we got to do something about this. And from there, I've been in city council now 3 years. I do what I can to fight for those without a voice. I advocate for, people that have been sexually assaulted. I was a sexual assault counselor for 6 years. I'm a person that loves people and that want to take care of who's hurting. The ones that don't have any guidance, or maybe they can't speak the right language, or they feel embarrassed because they maybe cannot read. Well, that's who Janet is, someone that's going to fight for those people, especially those that go to work in places that they have no idea whether they're covered by insurance or not, or whether, they can ask for more money instead of making, they give you an offer, you take the first offer. I'm like, no, if you're worth more than $10 and you tell them that you're worth more than $10, you ask for $15. So after, I think in 2018, 2018, I was asked to run for state committee. The Emerge Girls, I was a graduate in 2017, we're in Emerge, Pennsylvania. So all the Emerge Girls decided to run for state committee, and I did, I won. Once I was in state committee, then somebody was looking for a diverse panel for the state. So Nancy Mills asked, in the Latino caucus, David Rodriguez said, well, why don't you pick Janet? She would be great. She would be a Latina. She'd be the first Latina to ever take that position. So things that for some reason just keep rolling on my lap. So I am the first secretary of the Pennsylvania State Party. So yeah, I'm very humble, by the way. That's one thing you'll see, that I'm kind of shy. In fact, we had a photo shoot today and it was like, I'm not into that too much. I'm more of a worker. I want to work. I want to make sure that I do my job. And moving forward, asked, to run in the early, I think it was the end of 2018, to run for state Senate, because first of all, because of my background, my background in reference not only politics, but also the fact that people are drawn to me. They know I'm a worker. They know how much I know about healthcare. And I said, it took me about 2 months. I did take a survey of 2 months just to see if they would accept somebody like myself as a person of color in the outside county of Lancaster. So the question was, would you support a woman of color, a woman Latina, yes or no? And they said yes. And this was only Democrats and independents. I never really ran into the Republicans except once in a while. And the questions were, what is your problems? What are your needs? Healthcare. So what's the next issue? The rent is too high. I can't make enough. Some people were upset that they're overbuilding farmland. They're, taking it to build these elaborate condos, and they're taking our resources away. We need to preserve it for agriculture. And I agree with them. So once I knew the base of what I was running, then I said, all right, I'll do it. And so yeah, everybody's excited. Yes, I would be the first Latina to ever be elected in the Pennsylvania State Senate. And now I just have to kill or make sure that all these people around me don't, try to take away from the excitement of running, because you get the trolls, and then you got Scott Martin, and then, these people that are racist as well. But overall, I've gotten some really good, I make phone calls, so I've gotten some really good response. I think when I knock on the doors, which I have gone out, I've been careful, but I've just felt like I need to get out there again. And I've gotten even some Republicans that have been very nice to me that said, yes, I will support you. What else can I say?
Can you talk to us a little bit about your campaign, what seat you're running for, what the district looks like, and what you hope to accomplish in Harrisburg once you're elected?
Well, the most important thing for me is healthcare. So my thoughts for healthcare would be, first of all, we need to cap medications because New York and Minnesota has been, they passed that law, so we can do it here in PA. I've already worked with Senator Haywood in reference to a basic health plan, just like in New York, where someone that's sick, they can go to a regular PCP. If they need something minor like a prescription, that they don't have to pay like so much money out of pocket that they're not able to afford their medications or afford to visiting their doctors. I also want to build on getting all the small businesses under one umbrella so they'll be able to get insurance that they can afford, but also include those employees that are under under 100 people. Mostly it's under 100, they don't get that contractual discount. So I think if we put Pennsylvania in a way where we divide it in the four quarters, and each location go under that umbrella, everybody will be able to afford healthcare. It's evident that we have to keep the Medicare and Medicaid because according to the discussion that I have with Senator Haywood, it's going to be $40 billion just to do a healthcare for all. So starting something small until we can build up to something that other countries have, like in Finland and Switzerland, that would be something that we can work on. Also, another idea that he threw at me was, instead of these elderlies taking these bus rides to Canada to get medication, why can't we just work with Canada as we do now, exporting some goods? Why don't we export also some of those discounted pharmaceutical drugs that these people need here, so they won't have to pay out of pocket. So I already got that ball rolling, and I haven't been elected yet. Wages is the other thing. My mother lived in, I don't even know how we survived, but we did. And, people need, if people get paid the right amount of money in order to pay, whether it's a mortgage or rent, they won't be in the system anymore, which means we won't have to pay any more of those taxes. A happy employee is the one that you take care, that they have sick time off, they have family leave, they have, the ability to go out with their kids and buy ice cream. I mean, for us, I think going back as a child, I think Burger King was like going to the most elaborate restaurant there is in New York City. So, I think it was Old San Juan restaurant. I was sitting there and this couple, it was a Latino couple, comes in with two kids, and they looked at the menu and they walked out. And then I wanted to stop them and say, eat, but they had already taken off and I was in the conversation because I remember that. I remember that feeling. And it doesn't feel that great that you can't take your children to a small restaurant that's, and it wasn't an expensive one, but, and definitely I want to continue fighting for our unions to make sure that they can, have the ability to not have to deal with these so-called contracts that don't take care of their employees, because they're, I call them underground contractors that, hire people like immigrants to do jobs. And then before you know it, if the person has an injury, they drop them off, don't pay them sometimes the wages, and don't pay their medical bills. So we definitely need to protect those employees, or get them out of the way so we can just have union people.